The Horseman's Corner is an original production of Howard Hale Broadcasting, on the air since 1994 with over 7,000 episodes with people involved in the world of horses. Today, the program is hosted and produced by Nelseena Lehmann. I'm Howard's son, Brian, and we welcome you to the Horseman's Corner. Nelseena will be back with our guest right after this short message. Do you need help with anything website related? Hale Multimedia has been in the business of helping others for over 20 years. Please give us a call at 940-224-6315 or visit halemultimedia.com. Anything website related, we're here to help you. That's halemultimedia.com.
I'm here with Robin Blankenship O'Neill. Robin, I know that you have a long list of accomplishments, so tell me about yourself and how you got here.
Grew up on a cattle ranch in eastern Montana with hardworking parents, and we always joke because we were the outcasts of both communities. We raised Herefords and Morgans, and in a black Angus and quarter horse world. But
you're the first woman brand inspector for the state of Montana, is that correct? In that role?
Yes, I'm the first to ever hold a district job. So it's been an experience. It's, very blessed to have this job. It's a great job.
I know that you're an accomplished horsewoman. What are you riding now?
Well, I got quarter horses right now. I had a absolutely phenomenal Morgan mare that wasn't mom's breeding, but it was the same pool, Western working Morgans. And we had to put her down last year. And so it's kind of one of those things that I'm really picky. I'm just waiting for the right one to come along, but definitely want to get back to Morgans. There's just something, especially mom's horses, they're just bred to be what we always needed them to be. And so, just kind of waiting for the right one.
Well, tell me a little bit about your job, because we live in a no brand area. So brand laws are quite the enigma.
Like you said, Montana is a brand state, and we're also a county-to-county state, which means in order to move through Montana, you have to have a brand inspection when you're crossing county lines, whether it's cattle, horses, and then sheep have to have one when going to market or out of state. What I do, I'm full law enforcement. I've been to the academy, and so I have the same authority as Highway Patrol. And so we focus on compliance and investigations. So, I'll do truck stops where I pull people over to make sure that they have the paperwork they need to be going through Montana or to another county. And they have to, if you're just coming into Montana, you need to have your health papers in order. And so a large amount of our job is helping to protect Montana's herd health, cattle and horses, and make sure that people are compliant as they come through our state. And then, so I do investigations on anything that's lost, stolen, or strayed, pick up a lot of strays and get them back to their rightful owner. And then, of course, this time of year, we're in the fall run, and so we're really busy still. And the district guys end up spending a lot of time in the market because we just end up being shorthanded everywhere. So I spend a lot of time in the markets this time of year, and then also going out in the country and writing inspections too.
Sounds like a good time to take a break, Nelseena. We'll be back with more from Robin Blankenship O'Neill right after this.
So you missed a Horseman's Corner on the radio. Well, you can find all of the Horseman's Corner programs by going to horsemanscorner.com. You can also find some links to some good horse sales there. You can get all that by going to horsemanscorner.com. Good information for the horseman and a good place to advertise if you have a horse-related business. That's horsemanscorner.com.
Let's resume with Robin Blankenship O'Neill and our host, Nelseena Lehmann.
How big is your district?
So my district is 4 counties. I cover Macomb, Dawson, Prairie, and Richland counties. And then help out at, right now I'm in Glasgow, which is out of my district, but we're shorthanded up here. So I come up pretty much every week and help them out. And then I also, not as often as I come to Glasgow, but I also go to Miles City and help them as needed. Yeah, I get some windshield time.
Yeah. Montana is notorious for that at any rate, just because of the lack of population. So
yeah.
So you live in Prairie County now?
Yeah, grew up in Prairie County, and I've lived in Prairie County all but I think 8 years of my life. something like that. I've been there the bulk of my life anyway.
Right.
And on one spot or another, I've kind of hit all four corners of Prairie County now.
Good. I guess I wasn't aware of that you had sheep too. I did not know that sheep still had to carry a brand inspection. That's what, a paint or a nose brand? Is that how that works?
Well, actually, nobody brands them anymore, but they did historically do it with paint. Right now, we're just tasked with kind of keeping track of their movement for the wool growers. We don't actually have to inspect sheep. People it's more of a permit, and they come get it and tell us how many they're planning on moving and where they're going with them, and then we give them that, and that way the wool growers can kind of keep track of the population in the state.
If I were going to take a horse from, say, Oklahoma to Montana, I know that on our end there is no brand inspection. So in the past, I've had the veterinarian calls the state of Montana from Oklahoma. They get a permit number, and I have to permit a horse into the state. How does that work?
Whenever you're coming into Montana from out of state, regardless if you're coming from a brand state or not, you have to have a Coggins and Health. And so if you're coming from a brand state, then you also have to have a brand inspection, some proof of ownership on your horse. But if you're coming from a non-brand state like Oklahoma, then your health and Coggins becomes your proof of ownership. So the vet has to call and get your entry permit number, and then we accept that as proof of ownership.
So how many states still have brand laws? Do you know that?
There's several states that are broken half. Half of the state has brand laws, half doesn't. There's like Nebraska has brand laws on cattle, but none on horses. And then California is the same way. They have brand laws on cattle, but not on horses. I don't know the exact number, Nelseena.
I was just curious. I know we went to Washington. Now it's probably been almost 30 years ago now, and picked up a horse there. And the lady there that the people that I was with bought the horse from, she had no clue. So here we show up to get this horse, and then we have no way to get that horse into Montana legally. And of course, coming from Washington, you have to go from end to end. And I know it was quite a fiasco, because we're like, we are not hauling an unpapered horse across state lines without something.
And Washington is a cow brand state. It interests me that they pick one or the other, to be brand laws. Why not? Or the states that break them in half, like South Dakota. I don't understand why they just don't do the whole state, because it makes it really hard to, when you pull somebody over and you have to find out, where they're from, and then you have to go back and look it up on your phone, because I don't remember where every town in South Dakota is or what side of the river it's on,
Right.
Have you ever wondered if you even really need a website? Well, here are just a few reasons. First of all, a website will help legitimize your business, strengthen your brand and your reputation, a place to make company announcements and launch new products, provide support for your existing customers, and remember, you own it, unlike social media pages. For more information, contact us at support@halemultimedia.com. Now here's our host, Nelseena Lehmann, with some really good questions on international transfers.
So how about where you live next to Canada? What is it like crossing into Canada?
So you have to have your federal health papers in order to cross either way. And then there's quite a lot of Canada that are brand regions. And then some aren't. So if they aren't a brand region, then they just come in on their health and Coggins, just like coming into state. But you have to go through the federal vet to do that. Yep. And then all the cattle that come from Canada have to bear the CAN brand on their right hip. So that's Canada's official brand, and they can't come into the States without that brand.
That's interesting. What about horses?
No, there's nothing like that for horses. They can come in on their health, Coggins, and or a brand inspection.
Well, I know there's been talk of tattoos and chips and all of that. And I don't know, in my experience, tattoos are somewhat of a nightmare, both getting them in and then reading them after the fact. So,
and it depends on, one time we had a whole set of yearling heifers. We bangs tattooed, and none of them showed up, and we had to do it again. So it's really subject to who's doing it, you know.
Right.
I'm a big advocate for brands, obviously, but I just think that's your business card, your return address, you know.
Oh, I agree. And I could be wrong in some respects, but we took great pride in our brands, and they needed to go on correctly. The irons were the irons were well taken care of. They were a tool just like anything else. I guess maybe maybe we were just fussier than some, but when kind of one of the coming of age as a cowboy was when you were able to brand, when they handed you an iron and gave you that job, then you had graduated to the ranks of the upper echelon if you got to brand livestock.
Oh man, yeah. You know, and there's a lot of people that still take a lot of pride in that. Unfortunately, you know, we've changed in Montana from the bigger family outfits to, you know, guys owning 40 head of cattle and having a job in town and living in town. And I don't see the pride in application as much as I did growing up. You know, they'll just kind of hand anybody that's walking by an iron. And it's unfortunate because that makes our job way harder.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah. So do you have any great stories you can tell us?
Oh, boy.
I need the dirt. I need the scoop.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. You know, I make a lot of people mad because we clip a lot of cattle, but yeah, those probably aren't the best stories to tell. But I don't have any great ones, I guess, that I can think of off the top of my head. I've had some great experiences, you know. Well, here just, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks ago, I clipped some calves and ended up holding them because you couldn't read the guy's brand. But we take pictures of everything that we clip. It's kind of a must. And so he came into the office just storming mad, called me everything but white and red-headed. And I said, all right, well, he says, well, I thought this was your job, finding ownership, you know. And I said, well, it is. And I found who owns them. Well, he says, who owns them? I said, well, you own them. You just need to do a better job branding. And I showed him the pictures, and he was very taken back. He's like, that's my calf. I said, that is your calf. That is your brand. I said, it's next to impossible to read, but it is yours. And then, you know, that kind of diffuses it when people can see what we've seen.
Right.
And then we've had a lot of guys, around 125 head of one guy's calves to the chute last spring because you couldn't read anything on them. And boy, this fall when those calves come in, he had been branding with an electric iron, which I think should be illegal. They're just horrible. He had thrown those away and went back to hot irons, and boy, you could read those calves from an alley away, you know. It helps to point that stuff out to the producers, and ultimately we're here to serve them, so it's not like I want to be a bad guy.
We'll be back right after this.
I'd like to invite you to visit the website that we have for the Horseman. That's horsemanscorner.com. Good place to advertise, good place to go if you're looking for horse information. horsemanscorner.com. That's horsemanscorner.com.
Yeah, you're on their side. I mean, really for all intents and purposes. And I think the justice that the department does too is that I know how you were raised. I know where you were raised, and I know that is, you know the difference. You know why it's done. You know how it's supposed to be done, and the gravity of the situation is not out of your purview. So kudos to you. I don't know if my temper would allow me to do such a job.
Well, I gotta tell you, you learned to bite your tongue. You know, you can't just say, well, if you had not brought the beer cooler out, these would be branded a lot better.
Yes, right. Where do you see your road taking you?
Oh, I don't know. You know, there's upper jobs in the Department of Livestock. I'm pretty darn happy where I'm at now. I don't have to do anything with legislature, and I don't have to. I'm kind of my own boss. You know, we check in with our supervisor, and he kind of keeps us lined out. But really, as long as you're honest with your hours and do the work. We really are kind of on our own. So I like that aspect of it, I certainly don't want to work in Helena in an office, so I might just kind of stay here.
That's great. How much of your time do you spend horseback?
Well, not as much as I'd like to. Well, I will say that here this winter, I haven't packed a horse around with me as much just because it's been so miserably cold, and going down the road, that's pretty darn hard on them. I got the state, we have a open top or half top trailer that I pull for state work, and it's too breezy when it's 10 below to haul a horse down the road. So this year I haven't spent as much horseback, but when I come in an alley, I'd rather be horseback. You're just safer.
Oh, absolutely.
It's pretty hard to inspect calves and do a good job horseback, just because you need to be down on their level. But with cows, I prefer it. They handle better most of the time, and I'm safer.
Right.
So, I guess to answer your question, probably only about a third of my time is really horseback. If I'm riding through somebody's cattle, looking for ownership or something like that, or picking out strays or something, I get to spend a lot of time horseback doing that. But that's more summertime stuff.
Well, and you still live on a working ranch and have a ranch of your own that you have to look after too. So that gets a little hectic at times for you.
Well, definitely for my husband. Really nice. I had taken some vacation time over Christmas, and so I got to be home for a whole week straight. And it was really nice to be able to help him and get in his way and while he was feeding. And it would be nice sometimes to be home more, but I sure like this job, and I'm sure there'll come a point where I retire, but it's no time soon. I started this too late in life to retire when a person should, so I'm going to be a lifer.
Well, there's much worse things than having to be a lifer.
I agree, Nelseena. And if you last long enough, you could be a lifer at a few things. It sounds like a good time for a break. We'll be back right after this.
I'd like to invite you to visit the website that we have for the Horseman. That's horsemanscorner.com. Good place to advertise, good place to go if you're looking for horse information. horsemanscorner.com. That's horsemanscorner.com.
How much time did you have to spend at the academy in order to become law enforcement?
3 months.
Wow.
Yep, you're gone for 3 months. So, and then we do trainings throughout the year too to keep us fresh. But it's it's one of those jobs that you're always learning, and you need to take it seriously. If you're going to pack a gun around, you got to be able to shoot it and be confident in your shot. And
like I said, I knew just enough about your job to be dangerous, but it's quite interesting. You're in one of the most beautiful places in the world, for sure.
Yeah, even it's been really frosty here the last couple mornings and cold, but not bitter cold. We got through that bitter cold here a week or so ago, but it's just unbelievably beautiful what God can do with ice, And even though it's cold and looks uninhabiting, you see these beautiful trees just covered in frost, and it is beautiful even in the winter,
Well, Robin, I thank you so much for your time. It's interesting to see how that job goes. It's, growing up where I did, I knew about it, but I didn't know the details. And so I thank you for sharing those with us and to explain a little bit about how brand laws work and how, especially across state lines and international lines and all of that. And I am very grateful for your time, and thank you so much.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. It's always, nice to kind of inform people about what they need to be aware of to come in and out of the state and travel around. So it's good both ways.
And that's going to do it for our full interview with Robin Blankenship O'Neill on the Horseman's Corner with Nelseena Lehmann. Thanks again for listening, and may God bless. I'm Brian Hale.